It's only bloody finished, for a given value of finished anyway. I don't actually think a project bike should ever be truly finished, but I always try and build my bikes with a purpose in mind. And on this one, we had an event in particular, which was the 24-hour Land's End trial event run by the Motorcycling Club at Easter. So there was no excuse, there was no way around it. The bike had to be finished and working as a long distance trials bike for Good Friday. I was still tinkering bits on it on the morning of Good Friday before the event, but long slog to get there. Massive thanks to the people who mucked in to help out. Neil puts his stellar shifts in putting the wire and loom together for this. Jeff at Co-Built Exhausts, people that chucked in supplies last minute. Really pleased and super happy at how everyone helped us out. And to get it finished and to get to the start line on something that I think looks really good was a really big milestone for us. And while we're on the list of helper outers, it's my mate Aaron. He's one of those people who's the nicest guy on earth and just jumps in at a second's notice and helps out and then disappears off again. And you need people like that around you. It's too easy to look too good with this stuff. It's too easy to look like you know what you're doing and you're making these incredible bikes. And actually, I think behind a lot of the people who are making these incredible bikes, there's loads of those stresses. There's loads of that head on the tank, fed up with it, I just want to set fire to it moments. Everyone I know who builds bikes gets that. So trying to be honest with it. And I think you need people like that. You need mates around you that can step in, jump on a job, get it done, help you out, and then leave you be. And that's, for me, one of the greatest bits about building bikes and tinkering with stuff in my garage. Now, the Land's End trial itself, this is an event I first did when I was 17 on a Hyosung 125, and I've done as many times as I can since. It is very British. It is a properly eccentric mix of cars, sidecars, three-wheelers, motorcycles, old stuff, new stuff, modified road bikes, proper trial specials, and even a few Honda Cubs into the mix. It's everything you can imagine all rolled into one event. And what I like about it is you're competing against the club. That's the point. You're competing against the hills, the sections, and the endurance, not directly against your fellow competitors, which creates this kind of camaraderie, this vibe around the event that makes everyone gets on, everyone plays together and plays nicely, which is really enjoyable. There are people on that event that I see once a year, maybe twice if I do the Exeter trial in January, but every time I roll into a cafe or a rest stop at 2 a.m. and see a face that I haven't seen for, in this case with COVID, 3 years, it's straight back chatting, no messing around with the niceties of how's life, how's you. It's always straight to, what are you riding this year? What have you done to your bike? What have you done? Oh, I love that. Oh, good, nice. Any problems so far? It's brilliant. You just switch off from the world and all that matters is you, your mates, and riding these cool bikes on a silly event. I actually built 2 bikes for this one, so I was double nervous. I built this for myself and I built my wife a little special 125 to do the event for her first go at it. So kicking off at the start, I was so nervous. Both bikes were a real last minute rush to get finished, through no one's fault of my own really. So then to expect them to do nearly 400 miles in 24 hours, I was chewing my fingernails a bit. Now the event kicks off with a 100-mile liaison on the road, following a road book, following your routes and just picking your way through. It's kind of to wean out anyone whose bikes aren't really fit, aren't really going to work. Straight out the gate, Chris's first problem. In my infinite wisdom of removing all the ABS leads, I disabled the speedo on the Meteor 350. So I had no speedo. So on the mileages on the route, I just had to guess. I had to work out what 2.4 miles felt like, counting Mississippis and and then guess where the junctions were going to be. So I definitely left myself an extra challenge there. But we all made it. We made it out to the main holding control. It's a 100-mile slog, and you can kind of relax that you're into the trial. At that point, I went round the bike with a fine-tooth comb, just trying to check every bolt, check every nut, check none of my mods had created a problem that I hadn't thought about. Likewise on the other bike I built, and to my delight, everything was holding together. Nothing was coming undone, so time for a bit of food, and then on with the rest of the trial. Now from that main holding control, you're into the trial proper. So every hour or so, you will come across another special stage hill climb, a muddy byway, track, lane, up the side of a big hill. Technical, some were fairly dry, some were super wet, some were muddy, some were rocky, some were rooty. A real kind of mishmash of different trails. Obviously filming that stuff overnight is pretty tricky because it's dark. And where we're getting to, it's really hard to get a cameraman to cycle round to. So I tried to grab as much as I could on GoPro on my little handheld cam. But it was only as we got into daytime that you could start to see the hills, and we got a few filmed, a bit of footage, and started to see a little bit of the excitement around the trial. Off to breakfast, and then just pick your way through the day. It always is interesting on an event like this, people's tiredness and energy levels kind of peak and trough. So with our little gang of riders, there's me, my wife, Ollie, who's quite often a cameraman on Bike World, and my uncle Richard, and of course my best friend Jenny, who works at the off-road school in Wales with me on an old R80, which was amazing to see her riding that round. We all kind of balanced each other out. When one was falling asleep, someone else would G them up. When someone else, that person was then awake, someone else would be asleep. So you kind of had this kind of camaraderie between you, kind of keep yourself going. Someone jumps in and reads the notes when your brain's fried and you can't remember how to read a route book anymore. It's a really good team effort to get round. Absolutely fantastic experience, and all I could do was just grin my head off all the way back to the control where we handed in our time card. Rolling into the finishing control and putting in I've finished the trial, I made it through all the sections, signed the form, I'm done. This year was probably the best year for me for two reasons. One, I did it with my wife. It's her first time. She finished the trial. I was so excited for her and proud of her, and just, yeah, that was an amazing feeling. And two, doing it on a bike that I'd kind of built, prepared, customized myself in quite a short time, and neither bike had a mechanical problem, and both bikes did a really good job and did exactly what they were designed for. I already liked building bikes, but that's given me like an extra buzz and reminding me how important it is to build bikes for a purpose for me. With the long distance trial in mind, it kind of gave me a guide on this project, and finishing the trial for me, big tick, line under it. Royal Enfield Meteor might not have started out as a trials bike, but it's damn well proved itself as one now. I love it.